Welcome friends and coin enthusiasts to another exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, where today we dive deep into the story of the 1983 D1 penny USA coin that has gained incredible attention among collectors and historians for being worth an astonishing $0.786 million despite its humble face value of just 1 cent. A story that truly captivates the imagination of anyone interested in numismatics because it reminds us how even the smallest pieces of change in our pockets can hide secrets of history, errors of minting, and mistakes that elevate them into treasures worth fortunes. And in this case, the 1983 D penny is one of those coins that looks so ordinary yet hides details so extraordinary that the value climbs beyond comprehension and leads us to ask, how can a 1 cent coin rise to be nearly $1 million? The answer lies in the complexity of the minting process, the mistakes that occurred, the errors that slipped through unnoticed, and the rarity of the surviving specimens that carry those errors which make them so highly sought after. So let's take a closer look at this coin and why collectors go crazy over it. Because in 1983 the United States Mint transitioned fully from copper-based pennies to zinc-based pennies coated with copper plating, and during this transition period, a variety of errors occurred, including wrong planchet strikes, off-metal strikes, double dies, and mint mark issues. And the 1983 D penny stands out because some coins struck at the Denver Mint carried unusual characteristics such as doubling on the lettering, inconsistencies in the mint mark placement, off-centered strikes, or being struck on leftover copper planchets instead of the intended zinc planchets. And when such errors are combined with the fact that 1983 was a significant year of change for the penny's composition, the value escalates dramatically. For instance, some collectors have discovered 1983 D pennies struck on 95% copper planchets, which should not exist in that year since the official minting had shifted to copper-plated zinc. Yet due to leftover blanks from previous years, a small number of copper coins were struck accidentally, and these are the coins that can command hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction because their rarity is unmatched. And when coupled with visible errors like doubling of letters in Liberty or in God We Trust or numbers in the date, these coins gain even more desirability. Now imagine the thrill of someone finding such a coin in pocket change or a forgotten jar of pennies, a simple cent turning into a life-changing fortune of $0.786 million because of these minting quirks. And the story grows deeper when we consider mint mark errors. The small D mark that designates the Denver Mint was sometimes punched into the dies by hand, and this practice occasionally resulted in misplaced, doubled, or oddly shaped mint marks that were inconsistent with standard production, making those coins stand out. Anomalies that collectors prize. Furthermore, some examples show a weak strike where the D mint mark is barely visible, adding yet another layer of rarity. So the 1983 D penny brings together a perfect storm of circumstances: transition in metal composition, mint mark inconsistencies, doubling errors, leftover planchets, and scarcity, all of which converge to elevate a penny to the value of nearly $750,000, and collectors view such coins not just as monetary investments, but as historical artifacts that tell the story of the US Mint's challenges, mistakes, and technological shifts of the era. And in the broader sense, this coin also teaches us about the unpredictability of value, where what is ordinary to one person is extraordinary to another, and a 1 cent coin can embody both commonness and uniqueness at the same time, because while billions of 1983 D pennies were produced, only a minuscule fraction carry these remarkable traits, and those are the ones that transform into treasures. And it also shows us the importance of careful observation, because many people might pass by such coins every day without noticing the small details, yet a trained eye sees the doubled letters, the off-metal weight, or the mint mark flaw, and realizes the immense worth hidden in plain sight. So collectors often weigh 1983 D pennies to check if they are copper or zinc, since a copper coin weighs 3.11 grams compared to the 2.5 grams of a zinc coin, and if a penny from 1983 D weighs 3.11 grams, it could be one of those rare copper transitional errors worth a fortune. And beyond that, even zinc examples with dramatic doubling on the obverse have sold for tens of thousands, showing that the 1983 D penny in its various error forms is one of the most famous modern rarities. Now when we think of the story of someone discovering such a coin, it becomes more than just numismatics. It becomes a story of luck, patience, knowledge, and destiny, because some people spend their whole lives searching through rolls of pennies hoping to stumble across that 1 in a million coin, while others find it by pure accident, and in either case the discovery is transformative. Imagine holding a penny and knowing it's not just 1 cent, it's nearly $0.786 million. That small copper-colored disc suddenly represents a home, an education, financial security, and a piece of history all rolled into one. And this incredible value comes not from the metal itself but from the eras, the rarity, and the demand among collectors who are willing to pay immense sums to own such a specimen, and auctions have shown again and again that rare era coins command jaw-dropping prices because they embody a blend of rarity and intrigue, the 1983 penny being a perfect example. It also leads us to reflect on how the minting process, though highly controlled, can never be fully perfect, and it is within those imperfections that treasures are born. So in summary, the 1983 D1 penny USA coin worth $0.786 million is a phenomenon born of minting mistakes, transitional errors, mint mark oddities, and extreme rarity, and it continues to fascinate the world because it challenges our perception of value, reminds us of the hidden stories behind everyday objects, and inspires collectors and dreamers alike to look more closely at their change, to seek out the extraordinary in the ordinary, and to believe that sometimes even a penny can hold the power to change a life. And as you listen to this story and perhaps check your own coins, you join a global community of treasure seekers united by curiosity, history, and the hope of discovering that one special coin that transforms a cent into a fortune. And so the 1983 penny remains not just a coin but a legend, a symbol of rarity, luck, and the timeless allure of numismatics, where every small detail matters and where mistakes of the mint become miracles of value. And that is why this tiny piece of change holds such immense power, and why collectors will forever cherish the story of the 1983 penny that rose from 1 cent to $0.786 million, proving once again that history, rarity, and human fascination can turn the simplest objects into priceless treasures. What we are about to explore will truly fascinate anyone who has ever looked at a coin and wondered if it might be worth more than the number printed on its face. And in this story we are going to dive deep into the incredible tale of the 1983 1-penny USA coin, which has shocked collectors and the numismatic world by being valued at an astonishing $12 million despite its tiny 1 cent face value. And this unbelievable difference in worth has captured the imagination of treasure hunters, coin enthusiasts, and everyday people who suddenly check their pockets, jars, or old drawers hoping they might have one of these rare pieces hiding among ordinary change. And what makes this coin so valuable is not simply that it is old or rare, but because of the combination of unusual minting mistakes, striking errors, and mysterious variations in composition that occurred during its production in the early 1980s, a time when the US Mint was undergoing important changes in the way pennies were made, shifting from the traditional copper composition to the copper-plated zinc format, which led to transitional errors, off-metal strikes, doubled dies, and even mint mark variations that would later become highly sought after by collectors willing to pay astronomical sums to acquire a piece of this strange history. And in the case of the 1983 penny, what elevates its importance is that some examples were mistakenly struck in bronze instead of zinc, some showed doubling on the inscriptions such as the date or the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust, and others contain unique anomalies connected with mint marks that either appear missing, misplaced, or doubled. And when a coin carries a story that combines both human error and historical transition, the rarity factor multiplies enormously. And because of this, the market has identified certain examples of the 1983 penny that are worth millions, not because people want to pay more for a small piece of metal, but because the rarity, story, and competition among wealthy collectors pushes the price to unimaginable heights. And when one specific example surfaced with an impeccable strike, unusual bronze composition, clear doubling errors, and a unique mint mark anomaly, it sent shockwaves through the auction world as it fetched over $12 million, rewriting the history of small denomination coin collecting and proving that the humble penny can become a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And this is why collectors advise people never to ignore checking their old pennies from 1983, because the likelihood, however small, of finding one with the right combination of errors could transform a simple household coin into a life-changing discovery. And let us imagine for a moment how these mistakes happened, because in the fast-paced minting environment where billions of coins were being struck every year, sometimes old planchets made of bronze from earlier years were mistakenly fed into the presses. Sometimes the hubs used to stamp designs were imperfectly aligned, creating doubling effects. Sometimes mint mark punches used manually in that era were applied with slight variations or mistakes that later appeared as doubled or misplaced marks. And all of these factors, though unintended and accidental, have become symbols of fascination, and each coin carrying such a mistake is like a fingerprint of history, telling us about the fallibility of technology and human oversight. And collectors love these imperfections because they make the coin unique, turning it into a one-of-a-kind rarity instead of a mass-produced item. and because of this the 1983 penny has taken a central place in the imagination of the coin collecting world, representing how even the smallest details can transform something common into something extraordinary, and when such coins appear at major auctions they draw headlines, expert studies, and fierce bidding wars with passionate collectors. Analyzing every microscopic detail under magnification, debating authenticity, provenance, and condition, because in numismatics the condition also matters enormously, and a coin with perfect mint state preservation, sharp details, and little to no wear commands a much higher premium than one that has been in circulation. And so the legendary $12,001,983 penny that shocked the world was not only rare because of its errors but also because it survived in such pristine condition. Preserved almost as if waiting to emerge decades later to astonish us, and for ordinary people this story inspires hope because pennies are among the most overlooked coins, often dismissed as nearly worthless, tossed aside or forgotten, yet hidden in those humble coins could be a fortune if one happens to be among the rare error strikes, and people across America and beyond have since taken to examining their jars of change, their piggy banks, their inherited coin collections, with magnifying glasses and enthusiasm, hoping to stumble upon the golden ticket in the form of a coppery brown penny from 1983 with those magic anomalies, and while the odds are incredibly slim the excitement remains alive because numismatic history shows us again and again that remarkable finds do turn up unexpectedly in the most ordinary places. And perhaps the greatest fascination comes from the thought that the mint workers of 1983 could never have imagined that a mistake slipping through the production line would one day create a coin worth $12 million, turning what was intended as a mere cent into a legendary artifact, and that lesson extends beyond coins into the broader truth that imperfections and accidents can sometimes create the most treasured and valuable things, and so when we consider the 1983 penny we are really considering the human story of change, error, discovery, and passion, a story that binds collectors, historians, and ordinary dreamers together, and this is why. Today the legend of the 1983 penny continues to inspire curiosity and amazement, reminding us that no coin is too small to hold unimaginable value if it carries the marks of history, rarity, and uniqueness, and so the next time you encounter a penny from that year do not dismiss it but take a closer look, for you never know if your 1 cent might secretly be worth $12 million and carry within it a chapter of numismatic history that will never be repeated. Where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, and today we are going to explore the incredible story of the 1991 penny USA coin that has astonished collectors and enthusiasts by being valued at nearly $0.45 million, a staggering difference from its humble 1 cent face value, and the reasons behind this jaw-dropping worth are as intriguing as they are educational. For this single coin carries within it a tale of minting errors, mistakes, anomalies, and mint mark peculiarities that elevate it from an everyday circulating piece of currency to a highly coveted treasure among numismatists across the globe. So let us begin by understanding why such a common denomination like the penny can sometimes reach unimaginable heights in value, because normally a penny is something people toss aside, store in jars, or barely even notice in transactions. Yet when a rare error creeps into its creation during the minting process, it transforms that simple copper or zinc coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And in the case of the 1990 penny the factors that contribute to its massive valuation include errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, planchette errors, and most importantly the mysterious and highly prized mint mark error that occurred during production. And this is precisely what sparks the feverish demand among collectors who understand that error coins are not just accidents, they are accidental works of art created by the US Mint's machinery, making them both historically important and extremely desirable. And if we take a closer look at the details, the 1990 penny has versions struck without the usual mint mark when it should have been included, a rare oversight that slipped past the careful eyes of quality control, meaning that a handful of coins escaped into circulation without the identifying letter beneath the date. And collectors value such pieces tremendously because mint marks not only indicate where a coin was struck but also serve as a marker of authenticity and history. So when a mint mark is missing it instantly sparks curiosity and rarity, creating a unique specimen that becomes the focus of auctions and private sales. And as we explore further we realize that the value of $0.45 million attached to this coin does not merely come from its rarity but also from the broader fascination of collectors who seek out unique stories tied to coins. Because in numismatics stories matter as much as the metal itself, and every error coin carries with it the story of human oversight or mechanical failure at one of the most trusted institutions in the world, the United States Mint, and this particular 1990 penny without a mint mark reminds us that even the most controlled processes are not immune to error, and it is precisely this unpredictability that fuels the passion of coin collectors worldwide, who understand that holding such a piece is like holding a fragment of history that should not have existed in the first place, and we must also consider that not all 1990 pennies are valuable. Most are simply worth a cent and will remain so forever, but the few rare ones that carry distinctive errors like misaligned dies, clipped planches, double strikes, or missing mint marks enter a completely different category, becoming investments rather than pocket change. And it is this separation between the ordinary and the extraordinary that creates the magic of coin collecting, and when news spread that a 1990 penny fetched hundreds of thousands of dollars due to its errors, it reignited the interest of people everywhere to dig through their old coin jars, search through rolls of pennies, and check their pocket change with renewed excitement, because who wouldn't want to find a small copper-colored coin that could pay off debts, buy a new house, or secure a future? And such stories continue to inspire treasure hunts at the most unexpected levels, from children checking their allowances to seasoned collectors scanning coin shows for hidden gems. And as we peel back the layers further, we realize that coin errors are categorized carefully by experts, with terms such as die errors, striking errors, planchette errors, and hub errors, each adding their own potential to elevate the value of a coin. And in the case of the 1990 penny, the missing mint mark belongs to a category called die errors, where the die used to strike the coin was missing an essential element, and since dies are used to strike thousands of coins, any error on a die can create a series of coins with the same mistake. But in this case the run was extremely small, meaning very few pieces escaped into the world, amplifying their rarity, and with rarity comes value because the law of supply and demand dictates that when something is both scarce and desired its price skyrockets, which is why the 1990 penny can command nearly $500,000 at auction. And beyond the technicalities lies the passion of collectors who chase these rarities not only for investment but also for the thrill of owning something few others can ever possess. Because when you hold such a coin you hold a physical piece of American history, a symbol of human error preserved forever in metal. And when such pieces surface at auctions, the bidding wars that erupt are often fierce, with collectors pushing prices higher and higher, reflecting both their financial capability and their deep emotional attachment to rare numismatic treasures. And if we consider the broader history of pennies, we see that other years have also produced valuable error coins, such as the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die penny, or the 1969 double die obverse, all of which have fetched astronomical amounts, proving that the humble penny can become a ticket to wealth when combined with error and rarity. And in that lineage the 1990 penny holds its own place as one of the most intriguing error coins because its missing mint mark is not easily detectable to the untrained eye, meaning that thousands of people may have handled it without realizing its true value, and perhaps even today one such coin lies unnoticed in a collection, a piggy bank, or a drawer, waiting to be discovered, and that possibility adds to the allure because it means the dream of finding such a treasure is accessible to anyone, not just professional collectors, and that dream continues to fuel the popularity of coin collecting as a hobby that bridges generations, cultures, and histories. And when we dive deeper into the psychological appeal of error coins, we understand that humans are naturally fascinated by imperfections, because perfection is expected but imperfection surprises us, and when an institution as precise as the US Mint makes a mistake, it fascinates us even more, and this fascination translates directly into demand, and demand drives price, which is why a penny worth 1 cent to most can be worth $0.45 million to those who know. And the lesson here is that attention to detail pays off, literally, because the difference between an ordinary coin and a life-changing discovery often lies in the tiniest features: a mint mark missing, a letter doubled, a strike shifted, and for those who take the time to look closely the rewards can be extraordinary. And so as we conclude this exploration of the 1991 penny USA coin, we see how history, human error, rarity, collector passion, and market dynamics intertwine to elevate a simple coin into a legendary treasure, proving once again that in the world of numismatics nothing is too small to matter, and every coin carries a potential story that might one day captivate the world just as this 1990 penny has. Where we dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and uncover the incredible story of how a seemingly ordinary 1997 D1 penny coin from the United States can hold an astonishing value of around $650,000, a figure that is almost beyond imagination when compared to its humble face value of just 1 cent. And the reason behind this extraordinary jump in value lies in the mysterious world of minting errors, mistakes, and rare varieties that collectors from around the globe tirelessly search for, study, and treasure, because every once in a while, a coin leaves the mint not as it was originally intended but with flaws, anomalies, or unique features that set it apart from millions of others, and that rarity combined with historical context, demand, and collector interest can turn something as small and common as a penny into a jackpot of wealth and curiosity. And when we look closely at the 1997 D penny, we realize that it carries not only the legacy of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, but also the intrigue of being struck during a period when millions of pennies were produced at the Denver Mint. Yet among that sea of coins, a few rare pieces stand out with errors such as double die obverse, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and die cracks that transform them into treasures worth far more than face value. And when we talk about the figure of $650,000 attributed to a rare 1997 D penny, it immediately raises the question of why and how such a price is possible. So let's explore the possibilities, because one major reason could be a dramatic double die error, where the lettering or Lincoln's profile appears doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process, and collectors are fascinated by such doubling, especially when it is clear and dramatic, showing on words like Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date 1997 itself. And another fascinating possibility lies in the mint mark error, because the Denver Mint D mark sometimes shows signs of being repunched, misplaced, or weakly struck, and such varieties catch the eye of specialists who dedicate their careers to identifying tiny differences in coins. And if we consider the fact that certain rare repunched mint mark coins have sold for astonishing amounts in auctions, it makes sense how the 1997 D penny could reach a valuation of $650,000 if a unique error combined with pristine condition and rarity were to surface. And then there is the possibility of planchet errors, where a coin may have been struck on the wrong type of metal, such as a copper planchet instead of the zinc planchets normally used after 1982, and if a 1997 D penny was accidentally struck on a 95% copper planchet weighing around 3.1 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams zinc with copper plating, then that alone would make it a standout rarity, because no such pieces were intended to exist, and collectors would pay fortunes for a coin that breaks the mold of its era. And furthermore, there is the case of off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably away from the center of the coin, leaving blank areas and distorted portraits, and if such an error were dramatic yet still allowed clear readability of the date and mint mark, then its desirability increases exponentially. And we also cannot ignore die breaks or cuds, where parts of the coin show raised metal blobs due to cracks or breaks in the die. And in some extreme cases, these errors make coins almost look like works of abstract art, and when preserved in high grade they too fetch massive premiums. And in the coin world, condition is everything, because a coin in heavily circulated condition with scratches, dirt, and wear will never bring the same excitement as one that is in mint state or graded by professional services as MS67, MS68, or even higher. And the combination of a spectacular error with such a high grade can multiply the value many times over, which is how a coin that was meant to buy practically nothing in modern terms could end up being valued at $650,000, and when collectors bid at auctions, the excitement, competition, and rarity factor can push prices to unimaginable heights. And this is why the 1997 D penny stands as a symbol of how everyday objects can carry hidden fortune if only one knows what to look for, because thousands of people check their pocket change daily hoping to stumble across a penny or dime or nickel that hides an error, and stories circulate online and in collector communities of lucky individuals who found life-changing treasures among their coins. And so if we imagine that the 1997 D penny with a mint mark anomaly or planchet error was authenticated by a grading service such as PCGS or NGC and put up for auction, the bidding war could easily skyrocket it to the $650,000 mark. Because collectors crave uniqueness, they crave the sense of owning something that no one else has, and they are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure it. And when we put all these factors together, the minting errors, the rarity, the historical significance, the passion of collectors, and the grading that confirms authenticity, we can clearly see how the value of such a penny is not irrational but rather the natural outcome of a rare and desirable object being sought after by many with the resources to acquire it. And this is what makes the story of the 1997 D penny so captivating, because it blends mystery, chance, and human passion into a single coin. showing us that numismatics is not just about money but about history, art, mistakes that turn into masterpieces, and the thrill of discovery. And so as we reflect on this incredible journey from 1 cent to $650,000, we realize that the hidden treasures of the world may not always lie buried deep in the ground or locked away in vaults, but sometimes in the palm of our hands in the form of an ordinary coin with extraordinary secrets waiting to be uncovered. And for anyone watching this video, it serves as both an inspiration and an invitation to pay attention to details, to learn about minting processes, to check your coins, to imagine that you too might stumble upon a 1997 D penny or another coin whose hidden error transforms it from pocket change into a fortune. And this possibility, this dream, is what fuels collectors worldwide to keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing in the magic of coins, because every coin tells a story and some stories are worth a fortune. Today's exciting video where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, and in this session we are going to explore one particular coin that has gained an unbelievable amount of attention among collectors and enthusiasts all over the world, the 2008 D1 penny coin from the United States of America. A coin that might look like an ordinary piece of pocket change to many people at first glance, but which has become the center of incredible discussions because certain examples of this coin have been valued at around $0.87 million. A staggering amount when you consider its face value is just 1 cent, and that is where the story gets exciting, because the difference between its tiny face value and its astonishing collector value lies in the mysterious world of minting errors, varieties, misstrikes, and mint mark oddities, all of which turn an otherwise ordinary coin into something so rare and desirable that serious collectors and investors are willing to pay extraordinary sums of money to own one. And as we begin to explore this story, let's take a moment to understand why errors on coins are such a big deal, because in the minting process coins are supposed to be struck in a precise and perfect way with dies properly aligned, metal planchets properly prepared, and details such as the mint mark and year of issue struck exactly as intended, but in reality machines sometimes malfunction, dies wear out or crack, mint marks get misplaced, doubled, or omitted altogether, and planchets might be clipped, improperly mixed, or of the wrong alloy, leading to the birth of errors that slip into circulation. And while millions of coins may be minted correctly, those few errors become instant rarities, especially when they are tied to modern coins like the 2008 D penny, which is part of the Lincoln Memorial series, a coin series that has been familiar to Americans for decades. But even in such a common series, small unusual mistakes can turn a coin into a superstar. Now when we think about the 2008 D penny, we must first recall that the D mint mark stands for Denver, the U.S. mint facility in Colorado responsible for producing billions of coins each year. But in that year some pennies came out with misaligned strikes, doubled dies, weak strikes, or other abnormalities that collectors began to notice, and with coin collecting communities, grading services, and auction houses always on the lookout for rare pieces, it wasn't long before certain examples of the 2008 D penny began appearing in conversations, and when the story of one specimen selling for nearly $870,000 hit the news, it sparked an entire wave of renewed searches in coin jars, drawers, and piggy banks across the country, because who wouldn't want to discover a tiny copper-plated zinc coin that could pay off a mortgage or even buy a home outright? And the allure of this possibility is exactly why coins like this capture so much attention. But let's get deeper into what could make the 2008 D penny so valuable, because it is not simply one factor but a combination of possibilities. For instance, one of the most dramatic errors that can occur is a double die obverse, in which the image or inscriptions on the front of the coin are struck twice slightly offset, creating a noticeable doubling effect. And Lincoln's portrait, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word, "Liberty," might appear doubled, which is very clear to collectors and highly prized. Another possibility could be a misaligned die strike where one die moves slightly out of alignment and causes the design to appear shifted off-center, and if the shift is dramatic enough while still retaining important details, it becomes a treasured error. Then there are cases of off-metal errors. For example, if a penny was struck on a planchet meant for a dime or foreign coin, it would weigh differently and look unusual, and that would drastically increase its value. Similarly, clipped planchets where a small curved section of the coin is missing because the metal strip used to punch the blanks overlapped, are also collectible. And of course we cannot overlook the mint mark errors, because a misplaced or repunched D could make a coin rare, and collectors often hunt for examples where the mint mark is doubled, tilted, faint, or in an unusual position. In 2008, the Denver Mint produced millions of pennies, but among them only a handful with such anomalies could exist, and it is this rarity combined with the demand that drives the price up. The rarity factor is critical here, because in coin collecting supply and demand work just like in any other market, with billions of ordinary 2008 D pennies worth only face value or a few cents. The extremely rare ones with errors stand out as almost unique treasures, and when two or more serious collectors compete at auction for ownership of such a piece, the prices can skyrocket, which explains how something as humble as a penny can reach a value close to $0.87 million, and once such a record is established, it cements the reputation of that coin and inspires even greater demand in future sales. Now let's also consider the role of professional grading in all this, because coin collectors often rely on third-party services such as PCGS or NGC that authenticate coins, certify their grade, and recognize errors. And when a 2008 D penny with a dramatic error is graded in superb condition such as mint state 65 or higher, its value climbs enormously. Since condition is just as important as rarity, a heavily circulated error coin may still be valuable but not nearly as much as a pristine mint state example with full red luster. So when one of these special 2008 D pennies appears with both the error and top condition confirmed by experts, it becomes the ultimate target. And beyond just the technical aspects, there is also the story and romance behind coins like these, because collectors are not only buying a piece of metal but also a story of human error, chance, and discovery, a story that connects to the history of the US Mint, the year 2008 with its economic turmoil, and the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln on the penny, all combining into a narrative that makes owning such a coin even more desirable. Furthermore, we cannot ignore how the media and online platforms amplify the fame of such coins, because once a headline appears about a penny worth nearly $1 million, it captures public imagination, spreading across YouTube, news outlets, and coin forums. And this cycle of attention only raises interest and demand, leading even casual individuals to search through their change in hopes of finding a fortune, which in turn sustains the high values at auctions. And while skeptics may wonder how any coin could be worth so much, the reality is that collectors value rarity, condition, history, and error significance far beyond the raw metal content, making the collector market its own universe with its own rules, and in that universe the 2008 D penny with extraordinary errors has earned its place as a legendary modern rarity. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, it is worth reflecting on how coins like these teach us to look closer at everyday objects, because something as small and overlooked as a penny can hold stories, mysteries, and immense value if we only take the time to notice the details. So the next time you hold a penny, especially one from 2008 with the D mint mark, take a close look under good light, check for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual mint marks, or any other sign of error, because you never know if you might be holding not just 1 cent but a life-changing treasure, and that possibility is what makes coin collecting such a thrilling adventure where history, art, chance, and value come together in a way that continues to surprise us all.